Meet Ichika, the only boy in a school filled with feisty, untamed girls who wanted nothing more than a male companion to save the day. While the girls used mecha suits to protect their country, Ichika had other plans and was secretly building his harem one nationality at a time. French cuisine, German, Japanese, Chinese, you name it. Girls of every nationality flocking to his dorm room.
Yeah, come on!
A fierce battle was underway between two mechanized soldiers. The skies were lit ablaze, and a third warrior joined the fray in hopes of ending the battle swiftly, scenes straight out of a fairy tale manual with action sequences comparable to Jujutsu Kaisen and One Piece. They went all out, and the sexy divas did not hold back from destroying everything around them. This was truly a battle of legends. We were then flashed to the lively city of Tokyo, where the lazy bum Ichika Orimura was surrounded by hotties who kept on staring at him. The busty teacher, Maya, welcomed them all to the all-girls school, where the fool Ichika must have been identifying as something else. Since it was a boarding school, they were supposed to sleep within the campus, and we all know what that meant for Ichika-san. He was asked to introduce himself and felt flustered upon noticing the attention he was receiving. He was the only one with a male genitalia. What did he expect? To them, Ichika was nothing but a prey. That's when his sister, Shifuyu, decided to discipline him and insisted he call her Mrs. Orimura. She was a big shot in the school and introduced herself as the homeroom teacher. Everyone went wild since they considered her a famous figure. Who was she? An of creator or something? Ichika was having a hard time dealing with his big sis, who gave off aggressive dominatrix vibes, just like my ex. His sister was actually a first-generation pilot who represented Japan and won medals of honor. What was she doing as a teacher? Soon after, Mommy Milkers, Maya, started explaining the history of the suits, or as they called it, IS, which stood for Infinite Stratos, an exoskeleton weapon designed to combat non-Japanese threats. First, the Chinese built a wall. Now the Japanese followed up with a mecha suit. What's next? The Koreans and Noah's Ark. Students from all around the world came to the school to specialize, and the funny part about it is, only females were capable of controlling the suit, besides the only exception. Drum rolls, please. Yeah, Ichika-san. No wonder he was famous. His childhood friend, Huki, took him to the roof and started acting all shy and reserved, like she wasn't a freak in the sheets. Ichika tried playing it cool and complimented her growth and progress. The bell interrupted their quiet time, and Ichika was stressing out about the assignment they were given. Maya came closer to console him, but Orimura bossed him around and started smacking him like a pinita. Later on, the pompous royal prick, Cecilia, walked up to him and tried acting all high and mighty. Ichika couldn't give two shits who she was and tried blowing her off. However, this struck nerve and had her rambling non-stop. It seems she was an elite and wanted the special treatment from everyone. Our boy wasn't fazed and sat there hoping she would leave or at least stay quiet. But this girl loved to hear herself speak and started bragging about her achievements. Even so, Ichika defeated an instructor as well, which was considered as a feat, shocking her to the core. Yeah, you best respect this man. He is the chosen one. Later on, fangirls were following him to the dorm, where he snuck into his room and found Huki walking out of the shower. As they locked eyes, his heart skipped a beat, and her embarrassment could not be contained. She immediately started attacking him and tried to kill him. Fortunately for him, there were plenty of girls ready to offer their bodies and seduce the hell out of him. He begged her to go back in and tried apologizing for sneaking up on her. It seems they were officially roommates, by some sort of dumb luck or crude chance. For a moment, she thought he set her up or manipulated the system to sleep beside her. Come on, let's face it. Ichika is smart, but he is not exactly the smartest tool in the shed. She launched at him once again and couldn't forgive him for deceiving everyone. Oh, these two are going to get along just fine. Afterward, Huki started laying down the ground rules and informed him of their shower hours. Yikes. That's a bit strict and harsh. What is this? A jail cell? Might as well be, since she was acting like the warden. Even using physical violence to threaten him, however, he ended up stealing her bra in the process.
Nice.
They then went to grab a bite, and while they were squabbling, a couple of cutesy gals came by asking to sit next to him. Oh, this guy is going to land gold for sure. This triggered Haki, who stormed off jealous. Ichika took the opportunity to rizz the girls up, but was interrupted by his sister. The following day, she informed the class to nominate a class leader, and the girls didn't hesitate to pick Ichika. This guy is going to have his hands full. As expected, the prick, Cecilia got up and started ranting like a mad woman on opioids. Since they were at a stalemate, she challenged him to a duel, and he asked her what kind of handicap he should give her. Oh wow, the audacity of this man. Everyone laughed at him, but our boy stood on business and told her to prepare. It's about to go down. However, his sis had to blow the bubbles and inform him his IS wasn't ready, shattering his confidence. Cecilia didn't waste any time and started rubbing it in his face. She was practically calling him broke for not owning a personal IS model. She continued to gloat and started bragging about being the best contender Great Britain had to offer. She's making it seem like Queen Elizabeth herself gave it to her or something. It's already the start of the show, and she was already insufferable. They then revealed how there were only 400 IS models available, and they were all made by Huki's sister. This made Japan the mecca of IS battle droids and monopolized the entire business in one fell swoop. Luckily, the government was willing to lend Ichika one for the time being. Then a huge uproar ensued when they realized Huki was Shino's younger sister. However, she dispelled the situation immediately, and class resumed as ordinary. Beautiful, busty bride of a teacher continued explaining the significance and importance of the IS mecha suits. Ichika was finding a hard time understanding all of this, especially since the suits had consciousness and served as an extension of their own body. Maya felt flustered when one of the students asked if it could serve as a boyfriend. These girls sure are horny. Ichika was in for one heck of a ride. All the girls had the hots for him except Huki, who was disgusted by his presence and knocked him down. Why was she so harsh and condescending? These two must have had history. Ichika didn't care and dragged her to the cafe, where they started squabbling like longtime lovers. I don't think married couple argue as much as these two do. As they were talking, a fellow senior hottie came by to shoot her shot, but was told F off by Huki. So wait, let me get this straight. She doesn't want to be with him, but also doesn't want others to be around. Talk about bad luck. They went to the dojo and our boy got his ass handed to him. He was too weak and stood no chance against Cecilia if he didn't make a drastic change soon. Huki insisted he trained for 3 hours and went back to her room to change into something more comfortable. She went down memory lane and tried understanding his motif. The following week, Ichika was nagging her to show him the basics of IS training, but Maya interrupted their conversation and announced the arrival of his temporary IS model. Wah, that suit was the real deal. Unlike the Power Rangers one that is. He felt weirdly attached to it and geared up for battle. This was started to look like Code GS in a way. Maya told him to watch out and give it his best, with his sister watching and Huki supporting. He was ready to launch into action. Cecilia gave him a stern warning and asked him to apologize. However, our boy's ego was something else and took a direct hit. He kept on dodging her attacks but couldn't close the distance. His weapon was a sword and the situation seemed unfavorable. Everyone looked on as he was struggling to get closer, let alone land a hit. At this rate, he was about to get swatted like a fly. I won't lie, the animation was fire and the action sequences were fluid. Maya was growing worried while Mrs. Orimura called him an idiot. Would you look at that? His speed was increasing, even though Cecilia's intelligence was unmatched. His personal IS upgraded and accepted it as its master. Now you're talking. It's about time he goes into second gear and prove his sister wrong. Cecilia launched missiles at him, but all to no avail, since he managed to close the distance. Wait, was it over already? Well, that's not fair. He was about to land the killing blow. This game was rigged. His sister tried explaining the situation, telling him how he used a forbidden attack and disqualified himself. Oh well, you should have informed him before the battle. Maya congratulated him for his improvement and gave him a book to study. Later on, he walked back to his dorm room with Huki, who was low-key proud of him. He might have lost the battle, but he surely won the war. Huki volunteered to continue training him and felt giddy. Back in her dorm room, Cecilia was taking a shower and looked delicious, if I might say. The next day, they all lined up for a lesson with the big boss. The blonde volunteered and transformed on the spot. Ichika failed to deliver and took a while to do so, proving his incompetence. They were both told to fly, which proved to be a difficulty for our boy. She was running circles around him and made him look like a fool. However, she was turned on by his ambition and tried hitting it off by offering personal lessons after school. Ulala, we all know what that meant. Netflix and chill, Japanese-style ramen noodles. Cecilia landed like a pro, while Ichika crashed like a dummy. Everyone was worried for his safety, but the doofus was alright, even though he looked and acted a bit zesty. This guy must be a freak. Cecilia came to his aid and tried shooting her shot. She even called him dear and got into a busty melon competition with Huki. From the looks of it, they were both bestowed. Later on, everyone celebrated Ichika's promotion to class representative after Cecilia decided to step down. Wait a minute, did she really have a crush on him? Well, she wasn't the only one, and this was starting to ignite Huki's jealousy. Even the photographer deemed them both a couple and asked to take a private picture. A catfight is just waiting to happen. Huki went back to her room and started interrogating Ichika for having fun with the girls. Crazy bitch alert. This girl needs to be stopped. She began undressing, and Ichika couldn't help his damn testosterone. The lousy fool was only allowed to gaze at her beauty. No touching. This ain't a strip club, buddy, it's a National Zoo convention. He proceeded to compliment her looks and gave her the chills. How were these two supposed to sleep in peace? The following day, everyone was heading back to class and began spreading rumors about some Chinese transfer student. I bet she was hot and powerful. Oh yeah, there she was. Lingian, let's call her Ling for now. She possessed her own IS and was close friends with Ichika. Mrs. Orimura came by to scold her and kicked her out. Later on, these two lovebirds started chatting, and it had everyone wondering how much of a player Ichika actually was. He even knew her favorite meal, ramen, and it's been a whole year since they last saw each other. Something is screaming Netflix and chill here. These two sat together getting their freak on with the entire squad watching them enviously. Ichika told her how he accidentally stumbled upon an IS suit whilst roaming for his exams, and upon touching it, it glowed and accepted it as their owner. As expected, Cecilia and Huki protested their lovey-dovey attitude and wanted to rip Ling limb from limb. Ichika tried playing it calling her his second childhood friend. Is this code for ex-girlfriend or something? Because something is starting to smell fishy around here. Ling and Huki got along together with Cecilia feeling left out. She was the only one who wasn't dating. Childhood friends with Ichika-san, the playboy, the rizmaster, the pimping king. Ling tried ignoring her and told them to F off since she wanted Ichika alone. They started comparing their feats to see who he loved more, and Ling dropped the bombshell, telling them Ichika used to come to their house a lot. Cough. Netflix and chill. Cough. Oh wow. How was Ichika going to get out of this? Later that day, Huki and Cecilia were arguing over who should train Ichika, and our girl Huki had the best at Isut in school, since her sister was the maker and all. It's like being sisters with Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. They put our boy through hell and had him sweating like a stud. After leaving him alone, Ling saw the opportunity to get closer to him and took it without hesitation. These Chinese gulls are as feisty as those Russians. I'm guessing she had a crush on him as well. Is Ichika the only male influence they had in their life because they seemed to be thirsty, even though they had a water bottle in their hands? Ichika was completely oblivious to her flirting and called her the second, since Huki was his first. After informing her they were roommates, Ling went berserk and tried crashing into the room, which was completely unacceptable. This left Huki with no option but to strike, but was surprised to witness the mechanical arm Ling was using. It was certainly industry standard. Afterward, Ling told him to remember the promise they made when they were a child. Our boy stuttered and learnt the harsh lesson of breaking a woman's kind heart. That slap was super personal. She insulted his intelligence and challenged him to a duel the following week. It was time for the challenge, and Ichika was feeling nervous. Huki and Cecilia gave him some words of advice and bid him good luck. His opponent was none other than the Chinese Empress, Ling Ding Chandler Bing. Ichika wasted no time launching at her, but was stuck defending her heavy blows. Ling unleashed her dual sword-wielding technique, catching him off guard and surprising everyone in the audience, including Huki and Cecilia. His sister had lost faith in him, since Ling was on a whole different level. She was right on his tail and gave him no breathing space, even blasting him with explosions and knocking him down like some scrap metal. Maya explained how she used a shotgun, and it seems her precise aiming was started to become a nuisance to deal with. The screenwriters should give this busty mommy more screen time honestly. They figured out how her attacks had no blind spot, and this was starting to get on Ichika's nerves. He couldn't fathom why he was so weak, especially when he was using the same suit his sister used to wear. In a flashback, we saw how strict she was in training, insisting he could also win a championship using the suit, since a single solid slash could take down any enemy, Ichika was getting fed up with her painstaking explanation and tried blowing her off, considering it useless. I bet he regrets his actions now, huh? Ichika decided to give Ling one last warning before unleashing his trump card, but she took this as an insult and started chasing after him. Maya was perplexed by his actions, even though his sister realized that he was using the ignition boost, something she taught him a long time ago. I can't believe he remembered her lessons. The battle was reaching its climax, and both of them were giving it their all. In a flash, the arena exploded, leaving everyone puzzled. What just happened? An unidentified object was spotted above, and everyone went into defensive mode. He was locked out while Ling decided to go after it. She told him to run away like a coward, but he decided to save her instead. While these two were squabbling, the lasers kept on coming from a mean-looking ice model. The villain of the show finally reveals himself. Maya told him to run away before things got out of hand, and Ling was feeling embarrassed since they were too weak to battle this new predicament. They decided to work together and hold it off till the professionals arrived, and the battle of ultimate supremacy was underway. The clouds were roaring with thunderous strikes as Ling and the new boss monster went at it. Maya couldn't contain her anxiety, while Mrs. Orimura told everyone not to worry, since they had this covered. In fact, she even decided to make tea for herself and chill, while her brother fought for dear life. Cecilia begged to help them, but the arena was locked automatically and there was no going out or in. How troublesome. Ichika and Ling were on their own, with everyone trapped inside. The senior elites were trying to find a way to crack the system, which was hacked by an expert. It seems their system contained vulnerabilities and the boss monster exploited it to keep them inside. Cecilia felt flustered and helpless as they watched Ling and Ichika struggle to make a dent. Their teamwork was absolute dog shit, and they couldn't even close the gap successfully. All this squabbling wasn't helping anyone, and the villain of the hour was putting up quite the show. Based on how good it was, Ichika started wondering if it even had a pilot inside, since he assumed it was being remote controlled by someone who knew what they were doing. His statement was contradictory, since an IA suit cannot function without a pilot. However, there are bound to be loopholes and exceptions, so Ichika decided to test his theory and go for the kill. If there was no pilot inside, they could go all out and destroy it. They agreed on a plan, and Huki showed herself, distracting the villain and giving Ling a chance to empower Ichika, who used her energy to slice through the IS model. Oh wait, did his attack actually fail? Nope, it was just another distraction for Cecilia to come by and steal the show. How did he even know? The boss monster wasn't done just yet and launched an enormous explosion. The scene shifted to Ichika in the hospital bed, and Ling trying to sneak a kiss. Did they seriously take the fight off screen? How unfortunate. Even Ichika was disappointed, since he was knocked out easily and didn't get the chance to exact his revenge. He asked Ling what her promise actually meant, and she changed the topic by revealing how her parents got a divorce. Their conversation was cut short when Cecilia came by and started screaming. Huki didn't hesitate to join the fray, and they were all fighting for him. Meanwhile, Maya and Orimura were studying the IS model, who was apparently without a pilot. The following day, Ichika was playing video games with his best friend, who kept on teasing him for being the only boy in the school. His best friend's sister walked in looking fine and erotic, and gave our boy the chills. Their character design was surely unique. It seems she also had a crush on him, and started blushing non-stop. She even made him a meal and made him an offer to stay with him for as long as he wanted. Afterward, Maya walked into their room and announced they were moving Huki to a different room. Way to ruin the fun for our helpless damsel. Huki objected this decision and kicked Maya out of the room. Ichika didn't think much of it until she came back flustered and embarrassed. She asked Ichika to take her if she won the upcoming tournament. Wait a minute, what did she mean by taking her? The rumors started spreading about the tournament prize. Winner gets to go on a date with Ichika. All the girls were pumped up and wanted to join. However, Maya walked in and welcomed a new transfer student, Charles from France. Wait a minute, was that a boy? More meat for the girls, I suppose. Mrs. Orimura told them to get ready for a fight with Class 2, and Ichika dragged Charles away like they were, you know. These two were giving off weird vibes. I didn't know Ichika rolled like that. No wonder he was ghosting all the women. Well, to each their own, I suppose. He introduced himself and started changing into his uniform, however. Charles was nervous and changed in a jiffy. Why is their uniform a bit showy? Almost like it was hinting at something else. These two went to the arena and their practical training was underway. As expected, the two powerhouse fighters, Ling and Cecilia, were called to show what it takes to become a pro. They were then introduced to their new opponent who came crashing down into Ichika. Hold up, was that the busty bride Maya? I bet Ichika was having fun coping a feel. Huh? Ling and Cecilia decided to retaliate, but Maya had his back. Oh wow, was she going to be their opponent? 2 against 1? That couldn't be fair? Everyone looked on as these 3 took to the skies and started battling it out. Charles started explaining the IS suit Maya was using. Wait a minute, they were able to make suits as well. A damn good one at that. Since Cecilia and Ling were shot down like flies, and Maya couldn't help but gloat, Mrs. Orimura told them to choose their groups and everyone clamored around Itika and Charles. Ling and Cecilia had their own groups as well, and all the girls wanted to get closer to the boys. Ichika was giving them lessons, and Huki came by to receive her daily dose of Ichi vitamins. Maya came by and instructed him to use his suit to lift the girls onto the suit. Why are they making the entire thing sound erotic? He was just picking her up. Would you look at her jugs though? Later on, Ichika held a small picnic with Charles and the trifecta. Tensions were rising as the girls fought over his attention. Ling brought his favorite pork, but Cecilia topped it off with some sandwich. However, the star of the show was Huki, who made traditional Japanese bento. Upon taking a bite, he kept on complimenting her, garnering the envy of the other 2. He even decided to feed her in front of them and had her blushing like a ripe tomato. Charles thought they were a couple and tried shooting his shot with the other 2. Later that night, he went to his room with Charles and tried touching base with him. You know, hanging out, chilling, doing what bros usually do. The following day, Mommy Milkers had an announcement. A new transfer student from Germany, Laura. Isn't this getting a bit out of hand, though? The transfer student trope wasn't meant to be spammed. Yikes, did she actually slap Ichika? Soon after, the students went to the arena to practice their technique, but the trio of horror were stuck arguing with the stubborn Ichika. As they were tutoring him, Charles came by to challenge him to a duel. He blew them off and accepted the fight. Ichika threw the first strike and chased after the other boy in school. If it was me, I would have eliminated Charles and formed my personal harem gang. Despite his best efforts, Ichika was on the defensive and ended up losing. Charles tried explaining how long-range weapons were quite effective and that he needed to summon it using his willpower. Sounds like some Power Rangers mumbo-jumbo. The girls came snooping in and cursed him to the heavens. Charles decided to hand him his rifle and tried teaching him how to shoot like a marksman. The girls' jealousy knew no bounds, and at this point, Ichika was starting to sound really sus. That's when the German mafia, Laura, showed up and challenged Ichika to a fight. Why is everyone challenging him? He isn't even that strong. Luckily, Charles defended his honor and told her to show some respect. She transformed back, and Ichika was feeling grateful since Charles was a huge life savior. However, he was annoyed by his reluctance to change, and we saw Charlie Boy blush like a Virginia House wife. I think that settles it then. Ichika walked back to the dorm feeling depressed and saw Laura calling his sister a mentor. From the looks of it, she was a teacher in their German class, and that's what gave Laura the audacity to act the way she did. Ichika was caught eavesdropping and asked her if his presence affected her career. Even though it did, she seemed to have forgiven him for it and walked off without a care in the world. Ichika explained how his sister came to save him from jail during her final match, and that was the reason she ended up becoming a teacher, to pay her dues. Ichika went to the bathroom and saw Charles bathing. Wait a minute, what were those gorgeous melons doing in full alert? Well, this was awkward. Is Charles one of those Transformers or something? Or was he just lying about his current sexual orientation? The silence in the room was debilitating, so Ichika decided to make some tea and got really close to Charles, who was actually called Charlotte. Yup, he was a she. It seems she was taken in after her mother passed away and trained to become an IS pilot. After their institution faced a financial crisis, they decided to send Charlotte into the school as an undercover spy to learn the secrets of the Japanese eye suits. They wanted her to act like a boy and get closer to Ichika, who was in control of his sister's IS suit. It was considered to be one of the best, if not the best in the business. Their plan almost worked, had it not been for Ichika's curiosity. He got up and tried consoling her. He even promised to keep her secret safe and pulled out a rule book which gave the students immunity. Why was he doing all of this? Was she his new favorite? Those jugs were surely enticing, though. Cecilia barged in and Charlotte was acting like she was sick. As she was dragging him out, Huki caught them in the act and insisted to come along. Two horny girls fighting for you. Why isn't he taking the opportunity? He came back with some food and the chopsticks seemed like a nuisance for Charlotte, who started squirming and asked him to feed her. These French ladies are quite feisty, aren't they? The following day in class, the girls were discussing how the winner of the tournament would go on a date with Ichika, with Cecilia objecting this notion and Charles for the time being, interrupting their conversation. Since they took him for a guy, they felt humiliated and ran away. Meanwhile, Huki was wondering if her words caused a chain reaction. The rumors did spread quickly, since she made a bet with him to go on a date if she won, and now everyone assumed they had the right to do so as well. This is what you call an avalanche effect. In a flashback, Huki recalled the time she missed the kendo competition due to her sister's revolutionary invention. They placed her entire family under constant surveillance and protection against the enemies. Even so, she continued to practice kendo, trying to remember the fond memories she had with Ichika. Ling, on the other hand, was out to practice, and Cecilia seemed to butt in. These two were determined to win the tournament and land the date with their crush. After talking trash like NBA rookies, they transformed on the spot and were ready to kick things off. However, Laura came by and interrupted their battle. This cocky German prick challenged them both and tried goading them into battle. They started going back and forth, insulting one another's country. After a heated discussion, Ling was infuriated, while Cecilia was appalled. Elsewhere, the girls ran past Ichika to witness the battle unfold. It was a 2 against 1 mayhem, and Laura was on the winning side. How is this even possible? Was this German really powerful? Charlotte explained how Laura was using advanced technology, a 3rd generation to be exact. Her whips were insane, and her speed was much faster than the both of them combined. She even possessed a shotgun, making her the best of both worlds. These guys were aiming to kill one another honestly. However, Laura was unscathed by their attempt and chained them using her whips, and gave them a beating of a lifetime. This was unfortunate. Can't believe there was this much of a power disparity between them. Ichika looked on in horror and desperation and transformed into his gear. He wasn't going to stand back and watch his loved ones get hurt. Her shield was too strong for him, and as she was about to blow him to smithereens, Charles came through with his machine gun. Ichika picked Ling and Cecilia and tried taking them to safety. They apologized for being weak and helpless. Huki was growing desperate while Charles couldn't hold on much further. As Laura was about to strike, Mrs. Orimura came through using nothing but a sword. Oh wow, she wasn't even using a suit. After scolding Laura for her recklessness, she instructed everyone to wait for the tournament. Later on, Cecilia and Ling were recovering from their injuries and felt humiliated by their loss. Ichika told them not to worry and that they should prepare for the tournament. The girls barged in and showed them a petition of a 2-person team. Maya came through and told Cecilia and Ling that they couldn't fight since their IS gear was heavily damaged. Wait a minute, does this mean they can't participate? Later that night, Charlotte, the transformed specimen, thanked Ichika for everything and started acting like a girly girl in front of him. Were these two going to be a thing? Charlotte began changing and was in a questionable pose with Ichika going for the kill. She ended up knocking him down and apologized for being so harsh. It was finally time for the tournament and everyone was growing nervous, especially Ichika and Huki, who took things personally. The first match was underway with an unusual team-up. Laura and Huki against Ichika and Charles. I wonder whether this was intentional or random. What were the teachers even thinking? Also, why did they make this the first round instead of the finale? Nothing about this made sense. But Laura's defense was on a whole other level. Not only that, but her attack was second to none as well. Luckily, Charles had his back and went after her, but Huki stepped in to help. She didn't want to help Laura since they were enemies, however. She also wanted to win the tournament. Having to fight, Ichika was painful for her, and Laura ended up attacking her on teammate. What is wrong with this German psycho? Huki might as well help them at this point. Mrs. Orimura was impressed by Ichika, while Maya was flabbergasted. Charles managed to incapacitate Huki, who went down without a fight. Meanwhile, Laura was having a hard time dealing with the duo. Her defensive barrier didn't stand a chance against Ichika's new attack. Charles landed a critical hit on her, and Orimura couldn't contain her excitement anymore. Unfortunately, his suit finished energy and this caused them both to lose focus. Luckily, Charles used his ignition boost to get closer and gave his rifle to Ichika, who distracted her long enough to give Charles a clear strike. Now, that is what you call teamwork. Together, they were unstoppable and had Laura watching her life unfold. She started thinking about Orimura and how much she admired her. However, she despised Ichika for taking her away. She used the motivation to unlock her trump card and started transforming into something sinister. Someone should stop this before it got out of hand. The suit fully engulfed her, and the arena was in full alert. It seems another villain was born, and this one was similar to the one that attacked them a while back. Ichika stood no chance against it and was struck down in an instant. "Run, you fool, run!" Huki held him back before he got himself killed and slapped some sense into him. It seems it was the same sword technique his sister used, and this caused his wrath to build up. Quite the protective brother, huh? The elite surrounded her, and Charles gave him some energy. It was payback time, and Maya couldn't fathom what she was seeing. Ichika reactivated his suit, but only managed to unlock his right arm. Was this sufficient to take down Laura's villain form? Well, he sure sounded confident, and the sword served as a lightsaber of sorts. They went at it, and the fight didn't last a full second. Talk about an anticlimactic situation. Laura started daydreaming and contemplating her life in the void. What is this? A Neon Genesis Evangelion scene. Soon after, Laura woke up from her nap, with Orimura beside her ready for interrogation. She asked her what happened in the arena and why she went berserk. They found a forbidden equipment on her gear, which would normally land her in jail. However, Orimura promised to keep this a secret if she improved. The tournament was cancelled, and the girls were depressed since they couldn't date Ichika. Our boy walked up to Huki and asked her out to a date, which caused her to go ballistics and beat the hell out of him. Maya came by and congratulated them both for the new bathhouse. However, they didn't know Charles was actually Charlotte, a transformer in action. She asked Ichika to stay with her and keep her company. As she got closer to him, Ichika was blushing like crazy, and the following day, there was a new transfer student. Nope. It was just Charlotte coming out of the closet and announcing she was a girl. Ling was about to destroy Ichika for lying had it not been for Laura, who went in for the kiss. What? What just happened? This is insane. Later on, Huki called her sister in hopes of getting a new and upgraded suit. As fortune would have it, there was one lying around. The next day, Ichika woke up with Laura beside him acting all freaky dinky. This German juice was looking super hot and had Ichika begging for seconds. Huki barged in and found them wrestling on the bed. She couldn't handle the disrespect and smacked some sense into them. Later on, he took Charlotte on a trip to buy some swimsuits. There was a beach school vacation coming up, and he wanted to get her something enticing to wear. Cecilia and Ling were stalking them like weird perverts, and Laura showed up behind them. They were all smitten by the same man and couldn't agree on anything. Meanwhile, Ichika was thinking of a nickname for Charlotte and decided to call her Char. The romance was already in the air, and these two were already falling in love. Everyone was looking for swimsuits, including his best friend and his sister. She started blushing and tried asking him out since she was planning on joining the IS Academy. Charlotte dragged him out of there and headed to the dressing room. They caught on and tried hiding from Laura and the crazy bunch. Charlotte took off her clothes immediately to distract him and had our boy sweating balls. Her skin was quite lovely, and Ichika couldn't help but stare at her amazing beauty. Mrs. Orimura and Maya caught them red-handed and started screaming at them. Laura called her hawk and announced an emergency situation. She wanted them to help her purchase a proper swimsuit and made the whole thing sound like a national emergency. Why are Germans so serious all the time? The following day, everyone went to the beach and was rocking their swimsuit. All the girls started chatting with Ichika, and Cecilia tried flirting with him using a massage technique. Oh wow, this British mommy was surely packing, and Ichika didn't know how to give her a massage. Wait a minute, this is starting to sound wrong, erotically wrong. These girls were freaks, and ended up knocking Ichika into the ocean. Ling started swimming and started to drown all of a sudden. Fortunately, the hero of the hour saved her, and Cecilia offered to take Ling back to the dressing room. Soon after, Laura came by looking like a mummy and felt ashamed to show her swimsuit. Charlotte tried seducing her to show the goody-goodies, and oh boy, the Germans knew exactly what they were doing. It was finally time to play beach volleyball, and everyone was hyped for the show. The girls gave it their all until Laura messed up. She was still starstruck by what Ichika said and ran away crying. Mommy Milkers came alongside Orimura, who was looking like a diva model. Don't know which one to choose, Maya or Orimura. They were both looking extra spicy. Now this beach scene is my favorite part of this entire show. We need more of this, honestly. Everyone was having fun, and we were left drooling. Could someone pass me a bottle of water? 'Cause it's starting to get hot in here. Later on, The gang got together to enjoy a traditional Japanese buffet. It was the first time Charlotte tasted one and was surprised to find out Japanese cuisine was much different than French or British. Since Cecilia was breathing heavily and Huki was looking on upset, Ichika offered to feed Cecilia and our girl was on cloud 9. All the girls started getting jealous, especially Huki. Ms. Orimura came around and told them to shut it like the big bad wolf she was. Ichika then offered Cecilia to come to his room. The other girls were waiting for him to pass by and started making fun of Cecilia, who was preparing for her room date. She was wearing lingerie inside and was caught red-handed. Leave the girl alone, would you? She was in love. Meanwhile, the girls were listening in while Ichika was making weird noises. Who was in there, I wonder? Wait a minute, was that his sister? She explained how it was a friendly massage and offered to have him give the girls one. He started off with Cecilia, who was enjoying every bit of it. Orimura opened up her panties and asked Ichika to buy some drinks. Meanwhile, the room went dead silent as everyone was afraid to speak to their teacher. She opened up the conversation by asking them what they see in Ichika, since he was a dummy. The following day, Ichika met up with Huki, who was feeling lost and confused. Cecilia came by and witnessed a giant carrot descend and Tabane Shinono, Huki's sister, come out of it. What a strange girl. Later on, they all gathered to meet Tabane, who was excited to meet the bunch. Would you look at that? Her melons were as good as Maya, if not better. This girly girl was the scientist who invented the IS suits. Who would have thought? Soon after, she revealed the 4th generation suit she made for Huki, only the best for her sister. I can stare at this girl for hours. Her beauty was another level. Everyone was amazed to watch Huki soar the skies and were envious of her gear. This power was divine, to say the least. Is Tabane still single? Afterward, they were told of a level of threat, which was disastrous to the town. They all grew worried but had no choice in the matter. They placed their faith in Ichika and got ready to intercept the target.
Tie your body! Yeah, it's so crunchy-chan!
Ichika was at the beach, feeling the weight and burden of the situation. Huki was alongside him, transforming into her new gear. These two were alone at last. Hold up, where are the others and why did they leave the mission to these two? Mrs. Orimura told them to finish the target in one shot, since it was highly critical that they do so. Everyone was nervous watching along from the sideline and his sister bid him good luck. Ichika and Huki were ready to set off, and her speed was absolutely marvelous. It was beyond any ignition boost known to man and Ichika was ready to launch at the target. Huki increased her speed and told him to hold tight. The villain was as fast as Huki and dodged all their attacks. This suit was something else, even better than the one Huki was rocking. Ichika was caught lacking and almost crashed into the ocean. He tried saving a ship and entered a different dimension to motivate Huki into next gear. She dropped her sword and started crying while the villain threw missiles at him, catching Ichika and Huki in the process. Their mission was a failure and Orimura was disappointed at those two. Laura convinced the rest to go join them, even though it was a breach in contract. Ichika was heavily injured after that attack and had the girls worrying deeply. Orimura couldn't fathom what was happening, since Ichika was on death's doorstep with Huki feeling miserable. It was her fault that he was in this condition, since she zoned out and had to be saved by him. Her tears meant nothing, since they couldn't save Ichika, who could possibly pass away from the grave injuries. Huki wanted to end herself until Maya came by and told her to recover and seek vengeance for her boyfriend. Wise words from the busty mommy. Huki went out running instead and tried to free her mind. Everything was so bleak and she started seeing flashbacks of young Orimura. He was a feisty fighter who picked on bullies and told Huki to defend herself at all costs. So they were dojo partners, huh? Huki didn't know what she would do if anything happened to Ichika, and that's when Ling came by to rub it in her face. Her failure was disastrous and Ling slapped some sense into her. What's with this show and slaps? Everyone gathered around and promised to avenge their lover. Laura used her technology to allocate the villain and suggested they go after it alone. They went after the White Horseman of Doom, who was no pushover and gave them a hard time. It was faster than the Flash and as powerful as Superman. While they were battling, Ichika was stuck in a separate dimension. He was oblivious to the ongoing battle, since it seemed like he was in paradise. The space was filled with tranquility, and Ichika didn't want to leave. However, his waifu were having a difficult time adjusting to the battle. Despite ganging up on the White Ice model, they were no match to its incredible power. Ichika was still talking to his suit, who offered him aid if he accepted the responsibility. The waifu gang were getting their asses handed to them and didn't stand a chance. One by one, they were falling like flies until Ichika showed up to comfort Haki. He sprung into action and had his sister feeling anxious. The girls backed him up as he fought head-on. They showed him all the support he needed, and this motivated Huki to evolve on the spot. Ichika was not backing down and gave it his all. Huki came by and fully charged his suit, granting him immense strength and durability. This was a fight for the decades, to be honest. It was all happening so fast. Who was this mysterious white warrior who stood his ground against all of them? Finally, Ichika landed the killing blow, rendering it immobile. That sure took a while. Afterward, Orimura scolded them all for going against her orders, but told them to enjoy the rest of their vacation. The girls were feeling content, while Tabane was discussing matters with Orimura. It seems Tabane planned the whole thing out and orchestrated the entire event. What a devious cutie. Meanwhile, Ichika had a date with Huki, who was ready to get things going. I knew this two would be a couple. After all, they were meant to be together. What a beautiful ending to a wonderful story. Well, that's all for this episode of Infinite Stratos. Hope you enjoyed every bit of it, and don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on future content.